In this video, we're going to be talking about the 9 ways to upsell your cutting boards, but there are some big drawbacks to integrating upselling into your small business. And I also want to talk about a few 3D printed projects that I personally have no clue how to make, but I think that some of y'all could integrate into your cutting boards. First and foremost, it is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in my shop right now, and my camera keeps on overheating, so we are currently in the basement. Okay, so let's go ahead and knock the most common one out of the way for number 1, that is custom name engraving. And that's the number 1 reason why people go onto Etsy to purchase a cutting board, because they want a cutting board, but they also want it personalized. Now, that sounds really simple when I say it like that, but the truth is I could dive into it for hours. So for just this one alone, I'm going to be making 2 separate videos for Maketember. One of them is just about fonts and the fonts that I use and what you should watch out for and what you should realistically be implementing for your cutting boards. And then the second one is customizing without customizing, which means you're creating an entire product that is ready to go that just needs one little addition in order to be customized, so you're not having to create a specific project every single time somebody makes an order. Those are 2 separate videos for Maketember, and we'll get into that as the month goes on. If you don't know what Maketember is, please check out the video in the link below. It will explain everything and the fact that I'm giving away CNC machines at the very end of this month. Number 2, once again, super easy. This is wood type, and we're not really talking about wood species, although you definitely could. You could say you could either have this in ash, or you can have this in cherry, or in this case, walnut. That's a very easy one, but also talking about laminations as well as inlays, and then maybe even offering end grain as a part of your upsell. Number 3, custom sizes. Now this is a little bit of a bait and switch, and we'll get into the drawbacks at the end of this video, but I definitely want to focus on the drawback of this one specifically. When you're on Etsy and you're searching for custom cutting boards, you all of a sudden start seeing these super nice cutting boards, and it just says $50. So you click on it like anybody else would, and then you see, well, that $50 is for a size that's like 12 by 8, a super small piece. And then a cutting board this size, which is 30 by 16, well, that's going to be $400. So a customer clicks on it, seeing the $400 cutting board, and then immediately says, oh, that is a lot more than I originally thought it was. That gives them a little bit of a bad taste, and normally they click off. At that point, it's really hard to convince a customer to stay on your page, but at the same time, it's hard to convince them to actually click on it, because if you say that your cutting board is $400 and then the one right next to it is using that same tactic, showing a very similar cutting board but $50, they're going to click on that other one and probably stay there longer because they already saw yours was very, very expensive. At least this one started off a little bit cheaper. Number 4, which is a very, very common one, is going to be juice grooves. So this little groove that is running all around this cutting board, that is a juice groove. So when you're cutting something that is wet or sloppy, maybe you've got a Boston butt super juicy, you can cut this on it and it's not going to have its juices run off the cutting board. It will give the opportunity to actually catch the juices. The juice groove is really important by itself, but it also goes into 2 more of these upsells, which are going to be very important. It also makes the cutting board look a lot nicer and much more of a finished product. It's an easy upsell, and people often don't flinch at adding an additional $5 to $10 for a juice groove. Okay, so number 5, this is where we're kind of getting into 3D printing a little bit. So I cut this on my CNC machine. This is just out of a solid blue HDPE cutting board. If you know anything about commercial cutting boards, they have them color-coded for different types of food that they cut on them, and they can be purchased for very cheap on Amazon. So I used my CNC machine to cut out this shape. And what this is a garlic smasher or a garlic scraper. You take a lump of garlic and then you can rub this on it and it'll make minced garlic. It's a very easy, simple thing to use, but also if you're going to be doing that, you definitely want to make sure that you're using material that is dishwasher safe, because they are fairly difficult to clean out because you're mincing up garlic on it. This one specifically, I made it so that it fits right into this groove and it creates this nice cohesive top. Now this groove could also accept a lot of different things, which brings me to the 3D printing portion of things, which I know absolutely nothing about. I don't know how to model things in 3D printing, but I do love product design. So when I did this, I immediately thought, well, this could be 3D printed if your filament, of course, is going to be dishwasher safe. And then also you could add in bowls. You could add in a lemon squeezer. And then if you look at your customer and say, hey, you have all these additional accessories that come along with it that are dishwasher safe, they're easy to store, they lock in place and aren't going to be moving around, that is going to be a huge upsell to your customer to look at and say, oh, not only am I getting a cutting board, but it also includes these cool accessories that I can throw in the dishwasher even though I can't throw the cutting board in the dishwasher. Always make sure the customer knows that. If you're finding any of this helpful at all, please consider leaving a like on the video. It really helps the channel out. Number 6, underneath this garlic scraper is going to be our trash chute. So right here, it's just a big hole in the cutting board, and you can see very clearly that trash can just be shoved down there. A lot of times, specifically for me, when I'm using my cutting board, I wish that I could just push things out of the way. So this trash chute is able to line up with these very small stainless steel pans. They are really heavy duty, and it's also going to be something that I'm showing off in my Maketember project when talking about fiber lasers and custom engraving things. So this just slides right under here. If you're cutting things, it is very easy to shove them down this trash chute so that you can dump that into the trash. It is a super easy thing to implement into your cutting boards, and it adds just that extra little bit where somebody says, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe that is worth the extra few bucks that they're asking for it. So number 7 is also going to be one of the fiber laser projects that you can be customizing, but it is a very easy thing to upsell for your cutting board. I personally think that a scraper blade is an essential for a cutting board, and a lot of people don't include them. Oftentimes, customers don't actually clean their cutting boards directly after use, and it leaves a lot of dried spots on it. A scraper is a very easy way just to go ahead and pop up all that excess food. I personally use mine every single time that I use my cutting board. And whether you're using it as an upsell or just bundling it with your cutting board, I'm very surprised often that most people don't include that. It's an extremely cheap thing to do. You can even buy them bulk off of AliExpress, blank. You can have another maker customize them for you. So yeah, that's another very easy upsell. Number 8, we are going to the bottom of the cutting board, and this is the leveling feet. So normally on cutting boards, you have feet, which are obviously really needed. If you don't have feet and there is a wet spot on your countertop, that wet spot between this and the countertop can end up just sitting there and never dry out, and it can cause mold, if not rot, anything in between. So these cutting board feet are really great for after you wash your cutting board. You can actually set it back down on the countertop like this, and there's still going to be airflow underneath, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Also, the added benefit of being non-slip, when you're cutting things, your cutting board isn't moving around on the countertop. Now, the difference in these is that they are self-leveling. Underneath here are inserts, which these just screw into, and it makes it so that your cutting board is always level. If you are a woodworker and you tell me that you have not made a cutting board that was unlevel, you're a liar. A lot of woodworkers end up going through the entire process of making a cutting board and then end up surprised that the end result is not completely flat. It normally leaves an edge that is slightly rocking, and it leaves you thinking, oh no, not only is this not something that I want to sell, but the customer is going to think that it is not a very good product. Especially with engraving cutting boards, if you have a lot of different species of wood in there and they all breathe in different ways, it can react poorly, especially if it is soaked by some type of food or if somebody left it in the sink a little bit longer than they should have. Oftentimes that leads to warping, and the customer rarely thinks it's their fault. They're always going to think that the cutting board was made poorly. This is something that can give you a little bit extra peace of mind knowing that the customer, when they see that maybe it is rocking a little bit, they just tweak those feet a little bit and it's stable. This is also one of those things that I don't see a ton of people implementing into their cutting boards, and I think it's because there's not a lot of non-slip options for feet that actually go on your cutting board. So I'll have these feet specifically linked down in the description below if you're wanting to check those out, as well as any other kind of accessories that I'm using in this video. Now, an additional added benefit of the leveling feet is that you can tilt up your cutting board a little bit. One second. So what we've done here is add just a little bit of an incline to one end. So if you're using something that's super juicy, like a Boston butt or something, and you're shredding it up on top of here, all those juices are going to be flowing off. The juice groove is going to do its job. It's going to catch those juices, but now is naturally going to flow in a single way down into the trash chute and right here. So you're never going to have to worry about those juices overflowing, regardless the size of your cutting board. This one's really big, so I wouldn't be worried about it. But if it was half as big, you still get the exact same benefits because you're able to rock up one side. After you're done with that, of course, that you can come down here and just put them back in place. Self-leveling feet are not only a big benefit for cutting boards in general, but it's also something very easy to explain to a customer, and they can very quickly see the benefits of them. I very rarely see them offered, so it's something that can definitely set you aside from the pack when somebody's looking at your cutting boards. Hey, I'm offering all the other things that these people are offering, but I also offer self-leveling feet. And then number 9, this is a super simple one. It doesn't cost you anything extra. is adding a little bit of finish. Now, this is Walrus Oil Wood Wax. I'm not sponsored by them whatsoever. I had some friends give me this and I've been holding on to it, and that's something that you can offer as part of your cutting board package. Not only you say, oh, this is all a bundle and it's included, or you can say for an additional $5, $10, $2, who cares, you can add a little bit of wood finish. Oftentimes when they get this, it looks perfect on day one. They wash it a few times, use it a little bit, and then after a few weeks, it starts looking pretty dry. That's when you definitely need to implement a little bit more finish into the process to get it back to the way that they once had it. That's going to give them a little bit of peace of mind, but also just that nice extra touch that a customer unwraps this and sees, oh, they not only care about how it looks right now, but they also want to make sure that things are taken care of in the future as well. Now that we've covered the 9 upsells, let's talk about the potential drawbacks, because there definitely are some. When you look at the benefits, it's really easy to see. You offer upsells, and that is more profit in your pocket, oftentimes for not a lot more work. Also, if the customer sees all of these upsells, they get to customize the board in the way that they want, and then they feel like they're a part of the making process, and the end result is something that is truly unique for them. But the drawbacks can often lead to a lot of confusion. Sometimes when you have all of these options on the table, it overwhelms a customer and they think, well, I clicked on this ad and it started off at 80 bucks, which I was comfortable with, but in order to really get what I was originally being sold, I need to pay $300, $400, $500 for this thing that I personally don't think is worth it. Now, as woodworkers, we understand the value behind what we are selling, but oftentimes that drops off at the customer because the customer realistically sees something and they think, is that worth a few $100s more than what I could get off of Amazon? Because they're thinking of what they're getting out of it, not the wood, not how it's made, not the creator behind it. They're thinking about the customization involved, the name on it. So they can't get that off of Amazon, so going to Etsy, that's their main driving factor. So when they click on your ad at a reasonable price and understand to get what they really want is going to be so much more, oftentimes a customer can drop off. Just like what we talked about with custom sizes, oftentimes that leads to a lot more resentment from a customer rather than an opportunity. If you're adding things, you always want to make sure that the value that you're adding is shocking the customer, that they chose to click on your listing for one reason, but you're giving them another 4 reasons to stay. So with all these 9 upsells, I probably wouldn't add all of them as upsells. I would probably implement 6 of them as your standard base product, and then have an additional 3 of ways that they could adjust their order to be able to get exactly what they want out of the product. I highly believe that a customer should not have to do math when they click on your listing. They should be able to very easily define, this is what the base product cost, this is what the super nice product cost, and somewhere in the middle is what I'm realistically looking for. And a very easy way to do that is just include a picture on your listing saying, here's the base thing. For 1 upsell and it's an additional $20, but if you do 3 upsells, it's only $50. So they know this is an $80 cutting board, but for all 3 of these upsells together, we're talking about $130. Now that goes a little bit into shipping. I see a lot of different opinions on shipping, and I would love to know yours down in the comments below because I'm not really settled on anything. Oftentimes it's just really easy to say, hey, I offer free shipping, and you add in that additional $30 into the price, and that additional price might scare away customers. But if you have your cheaper product and they're able to click your listing, because everybody's looking for price at the end of the day, they click your listing, they build out their thing, it's $130, and then they look and they say, oh, it's an additional $37 to get this shipped to my house. So I clicked on an $80 cutting board, but now it's $170. That is something that can drive a customer away, or it could be a benefit. Because like me, I sell a bunch of stuff here locally in stores, and I want that price to be able to match up with something that I'm selling it in a store for. If somebody looks at my physical item in a store, they see that it's $20, and then they look me up on Etsy and they say, oh, well, it's $20 on his Etsy, and it's an additional $8 in order to ship this item. I'm saving money because he's not having to ship it to me. That's a small thing that a lot of people don't think about, but it is something that I personally run into. Whereas I don't think the majority of people out there watching this video are going to run into it. So if you are somebody who offers free shipping, or if you're somebody who adds on that shipping later, let me know down in the comments below, because I think that that is a great topic to explore and certainly not something that I know everything about. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members who make all of these videos possible. I really do appreciate it. Y'all are the best. If you're brand new to this channel, this is where I talk about how long it took me to make this video. This video is a part of my Maketember series, which is going on all of September. Maketember with tons of different files and file packs available. If you're not subscribed to my email list below, please do so. But right now you can see this is how long it took me to film and edit this video, because at the very end of the year I'm going to be adding up all of my videos combined total so that early January 2024 I will know exactly my hourly rate on YouTube when it concerns the amount of time that I spent here versus the Google AdSense of what I ended up making. So if you're interested in the finances behind a YouTube channel, I go through all of that in January 2024, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there. If you're interested in my digital files, you can check all those out at cnclater.com, and in the meantime, I'll CNC y'all later.